Hello everyone, I hope all is doing well. Welcome back to my channel. This video I want to talk about communal versus antagonistic narcissism. Last video I talked about starting a little series about discussing the types of narcissisms and narcissists. The first video I talked about overt and covert narcissism. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Please go check it out if you haven't, and without further ado, let's get into this video. So what is communal narcissism? A communal narcissist is someone who's quiet, someone who may appear to be vulnerable in public. They want to be seen as helpful or supportive to someone. This could be done by giving them compliments, but boost up their self-esteem, things like that. Now that sounds all like, we would want people like that in our life, right? But that's the manipulation tactic. They will give you compliments, give you gifts, all these things to get you in your good graces. And this is also known as love bombing, which I brought up in the first video that I've done. That would be a separate video in the future of love bombing and all the tactics that I researched about what narcissists do. But yeah, communal narcissists, they manipulate certain individuals to make sure like they're in their good graces and like they can get them to do what they want. They present themselves as caring and extremely community-minded, hence communal narcissism. And I find this interesting because I didn't know this was a specific type of narcissism, the communal part. I guess it makes sense though because a narcissist wants to be in control of a situation, right? They want to be seen as this caring, loving person out in the public, and they might want to please, for lack of a better word, to get in the good graces of everybody around them, especially if they're in a close-knit community. What are the causes of communal narcissism? Could be stemmed from maybe the causes of all sorts of narcissism that I'll cover and that are out there. It could be caused by trauma, right? Like, it could be from their childhood, could be when they're growing up, not necessarily from their childhood, but when they're in their later stages of life. And it's theorized that they do this so they can continue to be control of the situation. So if they're liked, maybe they'll be well liked by all their peers. The peers will give them all this power because they think they're just the most stand-up, genuine person. And if this happens, the narcissist could get all that power, right? And they could make sure they're always in control of the situation, or mentally, psychologically, it could be because they know what it's like to not be in control of a situation, to be so helpless in situations that they had coming up, so they'll never want to be like that again, so they'll go to no ends to always be the head of the situation. I touched on it really briefly just now, but I wanted to talk more in depth about trauma. So with all forms of narcissism, trauma seems to be one of the main reasons of why it causes, like, it triggers an individual into becoming a narcissist. Trauma, by definition, is an emotional response to a terrible event. Immediately after whatever the event was, the body will immediately go into shock and denial. It will try to block out the event from playing back in your mind. Your body goes in more of a fight or flight mode, and I did mention this in my first video I did on narcissism. The long-term effects of trauma can include unpredictable emotions and strained relationships in the future, and I find this extremely interesting because that's basically what happens with the narcissist to a T, right? Their relationships, no matter who it is, maybe it's your parent, it's your sibling, it's your significant other, it's somebody just in your life, but if you know they're a narcissist and you just wouldn't like the way they treat you, so it'll put a really big strain on your relationship. And one of the big symptoms that I want to highlight is unpredictable emotions, and this actually ties in directly to the second type of narcissism I wanted to talk about in this video, and that is the antagonistic narcissism. So what is an antagonistic narcissist? So it's basically what it sounds like. It's a narcissist who is basically an antagonist, right? He tries to, instigate in every situation, tries to just be the bad guy, but he won't see himself or herself that way. It's just how they come across, right? So this individual has the usual signs of narcissism. They're entitled, they have a big sense of grandiosity, self-absorption, lack of empathy, extremely hostile and unforgiving. And I think those last two symptoms are really what makes them the antagonist narcissist. So say in any situation, something happens, a disagreement happens, and they'll take that as an attack at their personal character, so they will try to defend themselves to no end. This could mean they could get physical, they could be mentally exhausting, psychologically exhausting, and after all that, they'll be unforgiving. They'll gaslight you into thinking you made them do what they did because of like what you said to them and not just because of what they did. They'll have no accountability for their actions. And I found this one interesting researching because I didn't know there was like a type of narcissism that was just as straightforward as antagonistic, if that makes any sense. But it's really interesting researching these other types of narcissism that I never really knew. Like I knew it was a thing in the back of my mind, I just never knew there was an official term for them. I think the main difference between these type of narcissism is that the communal narcissist will display a great deal of generosity. As I said earlier, they always give gifts, compliments, in order to manipulate someone into getting into the good graces and maybe getting them to do what they want. It's a form of love bombing, and all this is a part of the cycle just to always reel a person back into this narcissistic abuse. And for an antagonistic narcissist, I really think it's the greed. Because as I mentioned before, they're really unforgiving and they're very hostile when their I guess status gets challenged. So I feel like those two are the main differences, and it's one of the easier ways to spot the difference between these two types of narcissists. So that brings me to the end of this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you guys for the support I've been receiving so far. I really enjoy making these videos, and if you can help anybody, that's all that really matters. Please consider subscribing, checking out my other videos. I'm thinking of making a social media page. I have some ideas, but I'll let you know when it officially launches, and I'll leave a link in the description once it does. Please guys, consider liking, subscribing, and commenting on this video. It really does help out the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.